yet again in this second Politics is Done in the Darkness podcast number 2, the second one. I still don't know if I have a lot to add, really. I mean, there's so much out there. So much. I mean, the internet is just filled with often contradictory information and propaganda, if you want to call it information, speculation, theories, sometimes off the wall stuff. And I'm using a different technology today, something even more simple. And I'll just try different things each time I do it. Everyone wants to talk about, or I don't know if everyone wants to talk about it, but a big topic right now is what's going on in Oregon with the angry white men. Nothing wrong with that, I guess, but I mean, nothing wrong with being an angry white guy is what I mean. Taking over the federal lands, a lot of federal lands. Well, there's a lot of different ways of looking at it. First of all, I don't know how consequential it is yet. And I don't really believe that too much good could come of it. A lot could happen. What I'm saying is I'm not sure exactly yet if it's very important or not. We'll find out over time. It could become very important, and more likely it'd be important in a way that later on in time we might perceive as, I don't want to say bad, but difficult. Things could become very difficult. If you think about it, it's not too dissimilar from what happened in places like Libya or Syria, when you had some unhappy people. In the case of Libya and Syria, many of them were outsiders, but put that aside. Some of them were people who were from Libya and from Syria, I suppose. And this is the kind of so-called revolution, which wasn't really a revolution, in Libya and Syria, that the U.S. ironically backed, and much of the left, very ironically and very strangely and very much out of character, backed. Well, now Libya is a disaster, and Syria is certainly in a condition of hardship, to say the least. Well, it started in a similar way. Some people with, arms, copying taking over a place, an area, and defying the government in that way. So far, the federal government has been very reserved, and they've gotten some criticism from the left from that, but I think what people might not comprehend is that, there's a precedent for these things, and in the past, the government has it's gone badly in a way for the government, or the government has come out looking bad. I'm talking about things like Waco, Ruby Ridge. I'm sure there's many other, or at least a few other similar events. And so if they do something like that, people are going to probably be horrified, the majority of the people. And yet you have leftists, liberals, whatever you want to call it. I think more the liberals, really, pointing out the hypocrisy. And certainly there is hypocrisy. I mean, we saw how heavy-handed the government was with the protests around inner city, African-American black youth being mistreated and even killed by the police, and how they were treated compared to how these guys out here are being treated. But I think the reason is because of the historical precedent, more than anything. also the aims of these guys. That land is really federal land that's meant for everybody. Well, what they want to do is sort of privatize it, as far as I can understand, and turn it into a place, where they just they pillage, they rape and pillage the land. That's what they want to do. Put people back to work, mining, timber, ranching, logging, this sort of thing. Nonetheless, it doesn't negate the fact that basically they want to privatize it in a way, or at least take it out of the hands of the whole general public for conservation purposes. That's what that place is for. It's for conservation purposes. Well, they want to do what they want to do with that land, and I can't see where that is really legitimate. Where they do have a point is the people who were arrested. The ranchers were treated very harshly, and that's been a typical story. Paul Craig Roberts wrote an article recently about how law doesn't exist in this country, and there's some evidence that that's true. We have a case of Edward Pinkney, who's been thrown in jail, railroaded, simply because he stood up against Whirlpool. And there's many other cases. I'm aware of the case of Dr. Raphael Defer many years ago, who's still in prison, simply because he wanted to help poor people in Iraq. He was railroaded. And there are even more famous cases, of course, that everyone talks about. Anyway, I suppose at this point,
oh mama, mama, don't you let the devil
I'm worried about copyright.
inside. Oh mama, don't you let the devil inside. 'Cause if you let the devil in, there won't be nowhere for me to hide. That's right. That's right. That's right. Oh mama, don't you let the devil inside. Oh mama, don't you let the devil inside. 'Cause if you let the devil in, there won't be nowhere for me to hide. All down my face. Yes, I'm drooling, baby, all down my face, all down my face. And I don't know, baby, I don't even recognize the place. That's right, when I play. And I cannot play like I used to play now, mama. 'Cause it must be something going on, and my rhythm is just about wrong. And if you let the devil in, mama, there won't be nowhere to hide.
Okay, well, all I can say to wrap this up is that I'm still infuriated with a segment of the left and their attitude towards what's been happening in Syria. You think they would have learned by what happened in Libya, but apparently they didn't. Many of them supported the so-called rebels, the so-called activists. So that's what they were being called at one point. Which it was all made up. It was all a scam. It was all fraud, supported by the Western governments and some of the governments of the region in order to overthrow first Gaddafi. And now Libya is a giant disaster. And then Assad, and these people on the so-called left, many of them, they'll believe the lies about, for instance, Assad or Gaddafi. Meanwhile, the truth is that under Gaddafi in Libya, people had economic rights. I don't know if they had freedom and this sort of thing in the sense of in an American sense or even a European sense. But they had economic rights that Gaddafi had provided a giant welfare state, really. And the particulars are well known and can be found quite easily, so I won't go into them. Assad, it's the same thing. It seems like I'm not saying Assad provided a giant welfare state in the sense that Gaddafi did, I don't know, but it seems like there's a lot of propaganda, And this time, many on the left buy it because it's coming from sources that they trust, which is ridiculous. I mean, if it sounds like propaganda, if it seems like propaganda, if you sense that it's propaganda, it probably is propaganda. Oh, he uses barrel bombs, whatever. Really? So they go out of their way to make the most primitive concept of a bomb that they can think of. Is that what you're telling me? Most primitive armaments? It just doesn't hold water. So it looks like the left is pretty irrelevant in the United States because what they thought didn't matter anyway. And I was in with them as far as it came to, until Libya came along. I was in with them. We tried, but they went ahead with the Iraq War anyway. They wrecked Libya even in spite of the fact that, that was with the help, really, not in spite of about half the left. In Syria, it looks like a different story in spite of half the left saying Assad must go, echoing the U.S. government and the ridiculous nonsense that they spout. I don't know. I can't really speak for the people that can't understand. Because it's not rational. It doesn't make any sense. It goes against everything that they would have said before. Come on. You mean to tell me that the government of Iraq under Saddam Hussein, that was okay, and we should defend against American aggression, imperialism? But when it comes to, I see, because they used outside actors. I get it. Yeah. They use these thugs that are called activists, and all of a sudden it becomes a revolution rather than an imperialist attack. Never mind. All right. Sorry. I forgot to say that I was. This pretty much concludes podcast of the Politics in the Darkness number 2. All right. Yeah, I should have added that on the end there. Yep. Thanks.